Welcome to The Practical Intuitive, where each Monday at 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 Eastern, where host Robin Fritz explores mind, body, and spirit for the real world. Because we are all intuitives and healers, and we must all learn to love ourselves and live that love every day. Robin is a trained and certified intuitive and spiritual consultant and hypnotherapist with an international practice based in Seattle, Washington. As the Practical Intuitive, she covers personal and business intuition, animal communication, mediumship, space clearing, past life regression, shamanic insights, energy healing, soul choice. It's all here. Readings, healings, and funny, warm, thought-provoking conversations. It's Robin Fritz, the Practical Intuitive, helping you mastermind body and spirit for the real world. No ifs, ands, buts, or BS ever.
Welcome to the Practical Intuitive Mind, Body, Spirit for the real world. It's Robin Fritz, and I'm live on a beautiful sunny afternoon in Seattle, Washington. So thank you for joining me here today, and I appreciate you being here with us. I am an intuitive and spiritual consultant and certified past life regression specialist with a practice based in Seattle. And on this show, I'd like to invite you to call in for brief intuitive readings and healings. If you have a question, if you have a comment, if you'd like to talk with an animal or family member, whatever it is that you'd like to look at with us, please feel free to call in at 202-570-7057. Today in particular, I'd love it if you'd call in to talk with an animal family member, because today the focus of our show is our animals and our spiritual development, how animal families contribute to our spiritual development, how we contribute to theirs, and what can happen in that kind of a situation. And at the half hour, we'll be welcoming my sponsor, Terry Kent of AmberstonePets.com, to answer questions I've received by email or Facebook notes from people on how her natural flea and tick collars work for dogs and cats. The collars are made of raw Baltic amber. So you're welcome to call in and talk about whatever question you have, but today in particular, if you'd like to speak with an animal family member or tell me about your animal family members, I'd love to hear it. So one of the things that comes up a lot in my practice with animals as well as with soul clearing work, and last week we talked about soul progression clearing, is what are animals doing here with us? Do they have spirit guides like we do? And what does that mean for their daily lives and ours? So we'll get into that in a moment, but first I would like to formally start the show with a brief guided meditation with the crystal Fallon, the citrine Lemurian quartz. Fallon is a rare power crystal who's a healer and truth bringer, and imagine that you're seeing this 8-pound crystal ball, which they carved him into early 2000s, kind of quartz, but kind of a clear amber color to him. And just imagine you can connect with him however your intuition works most strongly, seeing, hearing, feeling, or simply knowing you're connected. And you're welcome to share your insights as you do that. But if you just focus on breathing in all positive, powerful energy straight to your solar plexus and feeling it expand without that healthy energy. And as you exhale, just release what doesn't serve you. And as you breathe in, feel yourself relaxing in your chair. Please don't do this if you're driving. Take your attention to the top of your head, and we're just connecting mind, body, and spirit more tightly together. Breathe down your head, your neck, your shoulders, your chest, your hips, your knees, and your feet. The top of your head to the bottom of your feet. and feel that energy just clearing out your chakras, revitalizing you. And now imagine Fallon as a gold light at your feet, rotating and helping clear and also fill you up with that gold light of love and health and peace. And as it rises up from your feet, past your knees, your hips, your solar plexus, your chest, your shoulders, your neck, your face, and your third eye. And at last, your crown chakra opening wide so that you can tap your own intuitive and healing ability with us here today. And you can feel perhaps a gold light just flooding through your body. Imagine it with every beat of your heart, just flooding your body with warmth and love and acceptance. And know that that energy is connected with you for the show. It is my purpose in this show and all of my work is to help people tap their intuitive and healing abilities, because we are all intuitives and healers. So just feel that energy and know that you're connected there. So today's topic, animals and our spiritual development and how they work together. You know, a lot of people talk about our spirituality and how it affects the human-animal bond. What do spirit guides and soul clearings in daily life mean for our multi-species families, as I like to call them? And I'm raising this topic of spirituality in our animal families today because of what I see in my intuitive and spiritual practice, what I see as I look around the world and how people are relating to their animal families. And people are stressed about their relationships with their animals. And I think from what I see, it's often because of the expectations we put on them by some of the ideas that are floating around out there about animals and their relationship to us. And so my thoughts may be somewhat controversial. So I'm asking you to listen to it. And if you want to call in and comment or email me, at my website, robin@robinfritz.com. That's ROBYNFRITZ.com. Or you can find me on Facebook at The Practical Intuitive Robin M. Fritz. So we're all here on this planet in the form that we've chosen to grow our souls. That's what we're always doing, regardless of the form we choose. So some of us are human, some of us are animals. Others are trees or fish or buildings or cars or volcanoes and hurricanes. We've all chosen the form that we're in as a new experience to grow our souls. And while some people say that there are brand new souls in the world, I'm not so sure about that. I think at least most of us have been around a number of times. And it's interesting to me that everyone but humans seem to really see a number of their past lives, particularly our animals. So, but when we come together to create families, we're being very practical. The title of my show, my work, is all practical intuition. So we're here creating families, and that's another dynamic that we add to our soul experience and our soul growth. We learn about ourselves and others in the context of family life. And for most of us, that means close quarters, day in and day out. For me, it certainly does, because I can do a lot of my work from home. I do travel around the Seattle area, especially for space clearings. But a lot of it is done from home, so my animals are with me all day long. Others, you're out working and you come home at night or sometimes at lunch to take care of them. But the experiences in the family help give our soul information on what we want to do for the next soul experience too. So when we've left our bodies and we're in the afterlife and we're reviewing our life, we're thinking, I might want to look at this aspect in my next lifetime, or I'd like to experience this, or I'd like to try being a dog or a cat, or maybe I want to be a human this time. And that's all fine and well, because you get to choose what your next soul experience is. So contrary to what some people think or some religions think, animals don't always have to be animals. Sometimes they choose to be human in their next soul experience. The dogs that I've lived with in my lifetime were first a human when I was a little girl, and that human is like the most active soul I've ever met. So very, very active, and has chosen to be human and animal in multiple incarnations just within my lifetime. Which brings up the issue of soul groups. As souls, we tend to travel in soul groups, so we meet up with each other time and again, and we'll be together in different bodies in different lifetimes doing different things. So, for example, my animals and I have been together just as we are now, with me as a human and the dogs as dogs and the cat apparently as a cat again. Although when I first knew that cat in this lifetime, it was in a chicken body when I was a little girl. But I've also had lifetimes that I remember where I've been a cat and a dog, and the animals that are animals now were human. So we're all just experimenting, having fun, and enjoying our experiences in our new incarnations. And if you're looking at that little bit outside the animal perspective, my father and I have been father and daughter many lifetimes together, but we have also been friends as men in small towns together in the past. So when you start tapping into what some of your previous lives are, you will at times run into people that you knew in previous lifetimes. But there's a new age thinking, and I call it new age thinking, if you will, that looks at animals as healers and teachers and kind of makes them little mystical gurus in animal bodies. And I see that as a real problem. And we will talk more about that after the break. If you have questions or comments, call in at 202-570-7057. Thanks.
Your conscious connection to a more mindful world. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Change and growth are part of natural life and also part of your spiritual life. Everyone needs support and guidance, especially during life passages. Upgrade yourself with the OMTimes Experts program. With OMTimes Experts, you have access to the best intuitive coaches, spiritual teachers, counselors, astrologists, and oracles. Our team was carefully selected so you can trust. Find out more at experts.omtimes.com.
This segment of The Practical Intuitive is brought to you by Terry Kent of AmberstonePets.com. Years ago, Terry struggled with fleas and ticks on her 4 dogs but ruled out pesticides. Then she heard about raw Baltic amber. A fossilized tree resin, raw Baltic amber has been used for years in Europe to protect cats and dogs from fleas and ticks. Terry founded AmberstonePets.com 8 years ago to offer safe, organic, and beautiful pet collars that naturally repel fleas and ticks. How? The amber's aromatic properties are released into the pet's coat and spread by body oils from friction and body heat. The collars are available in several styles for cats and dogs, from kittens and puppies to giant breeds. Visit AmberstonePets.com, choose raw Baltic amber collars for your pets, and enter OMTimes at checkout for free shipping. Order today at AmberstonePets.com.
I'm Fidel Nsombo. I was born in a city called Bukavu in the Congo. We were a loving family, and then, boom! Everything that I had disappeared in a single day. People think that when you are a refugee and they resettle you to America and all your problems are done. They don't understand that that's the beginning of everything. I was not born a refugee. I was made one.
It's time we welcome refugee families with open arms. Learn more at embracerefugees.org, brought to you by the Ad Council.
Welcome back to the Practical Intuitive Mind, Body, Spirit for the Real World. It's Robin Fritz, live in Seattle, Washington, and we're talking about our animal families and spiritual development. So, there's this New Age thought been popularized by, I have to say, other healers, animal communicators, intuitives, books out there that animals are little mystical gurus in animal bodies. And I personally see this as a problem. And let me give you an example to explain. At first, when we come together as families, that's what we do. We support each other in our spiritual as well as physical development. That's what parents do with their kids. And if parents, whether you're parents of animals or children, we're paying attention and learning from them too. I mean, the world is wide open, ready to experience. But some years ago, I was in an animal communication seminar with a pretty famous, well-known animal communicator, and I was like going crazy because the emphasis was on animals as teachers and healers, and this cat was being dragged around the room. There were, 40 or 50 people in the room. Cat yanked out of its carrier and dragged around the room. Well, first of all, a lot of cats don't like that kind of attention, but this cat was being doted on because its person was just totally relying on this cat as its healer, as this cat as healer, her healer and teacher. And she was off to the side after the cat got done being dragged around the room. She's off to the side and the cat was on the table and she's petting this cat and, oh, my healer and my teacher. And the cat was freaking out. Okay, I could see this just on a physical, real life, here's what the cat is acting like basis. But I could also see on an energetic level, this cat was being really weighed down by the emotional demands of the person. And I was like, oh. And sometimes you don't know what you should do, but I decided to take matters into my own hands and try to get some relief for that cat. And you can say that was a good move or not, but I had a friend block me from the teacher's view, and I gently walked over to the woman and I said, what if you changed your approach to your cat and, she's your family member? What if you looked at her as an equal and as someone who chose to be with you as you chose to be with her and your friends and companions? And the woman looked at me and she was a little shocked, okay, but I could see that this cat's entire being was being shut down and withdrawn from the pressure of being a healer and teacher. And the woman looked at me and she said, oh, I never thought of that. And she was surprised and she thanked me, which is better than decking me, I guess, for interfering. But she immediately backed off and started calming down. She pulled her energy back, and as she did, I could see the cat's energy relaxing. And everything changed. The cat was more friendly, and she was more friendly and less demanding, and the cat immediately calmed down. So was I right or wrong to suggest the woman change her approach to her animal? I think I was right, and that's why I call my show The Practical Intuitive, because whatever idea we have of spirituality and soul growth has to start first with the practical day-to-day world that we all live in. And anytime we insist that animals are our teachers and healers, we're putting them up on pedestals that may not be good for not just their soul growth, but their physical and emotional development, like this poor cat who was having a horrible burden placed upon it, not out of malice, but just because that's what some of the people out there are teaching people to think. But in our daily lives, we're in families with our animals first and foremost, so we have to figure out how to live together and get along. And we have to decide if we belong together. And part of my practice is helping families who have realized they shouldn't be families anymore for one reason or another. Their needs have changed, or an animal's needs have changed. and or sometimes they've made a mistake in coming together, and things have to change. So we live in interesting times. So I'm inviting anyone who'd like to call in with questions, with comments, with a quick reading for your animals. 202-570-7057. So we don't always come together anymore for mutual survival, as we used to in the old days, which is how animals first joined us around the fire at night. And over the years, we've, created dog breeds to protect our flocks, and all kinds of work that have brought us together, herding animals, taking care of animals in the high mountains. But when we start looking at animals as family members, we look at our relationship together as mutual soul growth. It's what I call learning up from ancient necessity to heart and soul growth, which is really cool, which is acknowledging that animals are souls and we are souls, and one of the experiences we've chosen in our families is to grow our souls together in the context of families, which is a lot different than putting the burden on them to heal us and teach us lessons. Doesn't mean that we don't learn from them, just as they learned from us. For example, in my life, reincarnation seems to be the rule of the day in my animal family. Sometimes I'm notified ahead of time and can plan on it, like I did with Ollie, my Cavalier King Charles Spaniel, or sometimes, as it happened on May 1st, an email lands in my inbox and says, "Hey, do you want this kitten?" And I look and it's like, oh my gosh, it's Grace the cat back again in a new body. But, so why do they do that? What are they looking for? And that's the question of the day. What are they looking for, and what are we looking for together? And it's easy enough for us to ask them. The question is, how are we listening to them, and what does that mean for all of us? So every single day, we hear about, animals leaving us. It happens. They don't have lives as long as ours. And it's a tough issue. And it's something that when you're creating a family with animals, honestly, I have to say I hesitated in the last two animals. Did I want to do this to myself again? Well, obviously the answer was yes, because I love my animals. But I was also looking at what they were telling me they wanted in their next soul experience, which is something that we can all do to one extent or another when we look at bringing an animal into our families. So, for example, you're thinking of adopting a dog or a cat. I'm just looking at the most frequent animals that interact with us, a little bit more interaction than most tropical fish or goldfish. And what is it in that animal or in you that is looking to come together, and what are you thinking of for your own soul growth? Now, for me, my choice in families was to live with animals. I don't know when it was that I came to that choice, but a lot of people stumble over them, or are thinking is that what I really want? And what we should also be thinking is, what can we contribute to their soul growth, and what do they need from us to grow their souls in their experience with us? And as I've said, sometimes the difficult conversations I have with my animal communication clients is an intractable issue that cannot be solved in any other way than by separating the animal from that family. And that is the choice that the people came to and the choice the animals came to. It is not an easy choice, but sometimes it happens. But in my most recent 2 cases in my own family, I wasn't expecting the souls that I had lost to reincarnate and come back to me. But when they did, my question to them was, what is it that you're choosing to do in your next lifetime that I can help you with? How can I support you? Is this really the choice you want to make? And if it is, great, I would love to have you back. But it's your choice, not mine. And that's the difficult question when people call me up, is my cat or dog coming back? I don't know. First question, are you ready to welcome them back? And the second question is that what they're interested in? And what is it that they need to grow their souls? Because some of my animals have decided to remain on the other side and to work in spirit for whatever it is that they've chosen to do to grow their soul next. And it would be wrong of me to ask them to do something different. So we'll be back at the break. Thank you for listening.
A conscious lifestyle for a mindful life. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Ascending Hearts is no ordinary dating site, but a spiritual dating site with a purpose, to link you with your soulmate. We engineer the serendipity so you can trust that you will attune with someone that has the same matching vibration as you. Ascending Hearts, the conscious dating site for the spiritually aware. Try Ascending Hearts for free. AscendingHearts.com.
Join Vibe Nation radio host, international psychic medium Carrie Turcotte, as she guides her listeners to rediscover themselves by accessing the keys of knowledge that already exist within. Each week's show is divinely orchestrated to intertwine with the universal energies, allowing the listeners to go deeper within. At the end of each show, Carrie will tap into the energies of the listeners and give a message from Spirit about the upcoming week. If you really want to get to know who you truly are, join Carrie each Monday at 3 p.m. on Vibe Nation Radio.
This segment of The Practical Intuitive is brought to you by Aubrey Wallace, MD. Whether you have a chronic health issue or simply want to feel your best and be your best, consider an appointment with Dr. Aubrey Wallace, a naturopathic physician and medical intuitive with an international practice near Seattle, Washington. A third-generation healer, Dr. Wallace uses her extensive training and an intuitive approach to help her patients find what's really keeping them from the healthy, balanced lives they deserve. Her compassionate approach treats the whole patient, body, mind, and spirit, using therapies from homeopathic medicines to energy healing. She helps you as her patient to love being you. Dr. Wallace works in person or by Skype. Learn more about her work at lovebeingyou.info. Mention this ad and receive 15% off a medical intuition session. That's Dr. Aubrey Wallace at lovebeingyou.info.
Today we decided to walk to school. The light counted. 15, 14.
13.
We took a left on Carroll Street. Danny's smart, but he gets distracted. He realized he forgot his homework. I hope he doesn't have another bad day at school.
When you can see learning and attention issues from their side, you can be on their side. That's why there's Understood.org, a free resource for the parents of the 1 in 5 kids with learning and attention issues. Go from misunderstanding to Understood.org. Brought to you by Understood and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to the Practical Intuitive Mind, Body, Spirit for the Real World. It's Robin Fritz live in Seattle, Washington on a sunny day in July. So I'd like to just emphasize once again the topic of animals and our spiritual development, and point out that just like us, animals have spirit guides, have spiritual team members, because their souls growing their next experience. And I'll talk more about that if we have time at the end of the hour, or before the end of the hour. I'd like to tell you a story that'll be really interesting, I think, and help you kind of maybe see where I'm going with this. But here's a quick tip I'd like to leave you with, and I bring in a caller here. But cherish your animals as souls with spirit guides just as us. Souls that have chosen to be with you in a family, and they have two and maybe more agendas. Their first agenda, like yours, is to be a family with you until they die or something comes up and you have to part, because things come up. It's all part of the learning curve. And their second job is to grow their souls with whatever other job they might have come here to do. Not everyone does. Some animals have cosmic jobs like my kids. Others are just relaxing in animal bodies, taking a break from whatever it was they did before, or having fun. And sometimes it's okay to just take a body and have fun. I mean, that's the first rule in life, in my opinion, anyway. Have fun first and do your work second. And others are learning something they decided they needed to learn in that body. So cherish that body. Don't put them on a pedestal. You learn something from them. They learn something from you. And that creates a healthy family where your practical, daily, intuitive, and healing skills pop in. So now I'd like to welcome Terry Kent of AmberStonePets.com. Terry's one of the sponsors of my show. And I found her because she creates the most amazing thing I'd ever heard of, and I thought I knew everything. Natural flea and tick collars for dogs and cats made out of raw Baltic amber. So, Terry, are you there? Welcome.
Hi, Robin. Thank you.
Hi. Thanks for joining us today.
Also.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you very well.
We're having a beautiful day in Wisconsin.
Oh, good for you. Awesome. I know. It's been humid here the last few days, and we are such wimps in Seattle. It's like, oh, my God, it's so humid. And the visitors from Florida are looking at us like, what is your problem? Such is life. So, Terry, tell us again about the raw Baltic amber flea and tick collars, and then I have a few questions for you from people who have emailed me or I've talked to on the street. So tell us what they are and how they work.
Okay, Robin, I discovered the raw Baltic amber collars when one of my dogs came down with Lyme disease, 11 years ago already, and I was looking for a more natural approach instead of using the pesticides on my dogs. And
right.
On one of my online forums, someone said, well, I use the Baltic amber collars. And kind of make a long story short, I did a bunch of research on it, and no one sold them here in the United States, so I started making them. And now I've been making them for over 9 years, and they, I've been very successful and met a lot of dog and cat people that love them, and I have a lot of repeat customers. But it's raw Baltic amber, and it has some outer layer properties that help repel the fleas and ticks, and it's perfectly safe for your pet. There's no pesticides, no chemicals, and amber, of course, offers a lot of other things besides that, but we'll get into that later.
Right. Well, and I'd like to tell people, too, that the collars are really beautiful. And if you go to AmberStonePets.com, you'll see that Terry has a variety of collars, cats and dogs, but also small dogs and big dogs, and then a few varieties. And I think the collar that Ollie, my Cavalier King Charles Spaniel, wears is the lava rock one, because I really like the idea of lava rocks. But what was really cool too, Terry, was that you can spray those with, like, say, a natural citronella spray or natural herbal spray to add even more protection, in the height of the flea and tick season, which is cool.
Right, Robin. I add different beads to the collars, of course, to make them, if people want, a little more bling to them, or wood beads, or the lava rock, which works great.
And there's a turquoise one I know that with the raw Baltic amber. So Ollie's very, as they say, very stylish in his collar. And the other thing is, people might be wondering, is they're not heavy at all, which is good because you're not weighing them down. But also to remind people, they are not collars to attach a leash to or your dog tags. They're like necklaces. So I call them like flea and tick necklaces, because you wear that in addition to your dog collar or your cat collar, so to speak. But one of the questions that came in, Terry, was how often do they need to be replaced?
All right, most of my long-term customers, and I've been learning a lot as I go too, because it's definitely a new thing here, and it was new for me. And most of my long-term customers have come back and told me that, you know what, Terry, I think they need to be replaced. I feel that every 2 years is a good time frame for them to be replaced. And so that's what I like to tell people. Typically, the collar itself, because dogs are very hard on, collars and things like that anyway. So I think 2 years is a good time to replace it, just for the mechanics of it anyway. The amber is still there. It's not like it wears out. Some of it, tends to sometimes maybe crack or chip a little bit. But once again, I think 2 years is a good time for him to replace them.
Well, when they wear it, does it polish it to the point where the amber isn't as effective because it's more polished as opposed to raw?
Yeah, I want to say that could be one of the possibilities, because they do say that the outer layers of the raw amber are the most effective. And, as the dog wears it or the cat wears it, their fur and the natural oils of their body will naturally polish it. And I'm not a biologist by no means, but I would say that because they say the outer layers contain the most properties that help with the fleas and ticks and the properties of that, probably could be. And also, I think the oils might build up on it. I do tell people they can wash them with a real mild soap, to get the oil buildup off the amber. So that's also a good recommendation. Right.
And other questions, do they wear them all year long?
Well, I have an older dog that did wear hers all year long because, number one of the things that amber does do, besides be, a flea and tick repellent, it has some pain relief properties.
Right.
And because my dog had some arthritis, I definitely let her wear it all year long. You don't have to if you would rather put it away, in a drawer and keep it. You want to keep it out of direct sunlight. Exposed to sunlight. It's okay when your dog's wearing it, but obviously you don't want it laying on a windowsill for
so wear it during flea and tick season. Okay.
Right.
So
most people will just have it wear during the flea and tick season.
Yeah. I'm just thinking of that with Ollie. So can they get wet?
It can get wet. It's made out of the inner is a stainless steel nylon coated wire. It does not hurt it to get wet.
Okay. But if you're swimming in the ocean, maybe take it off.
Yeah, of course, salt water is pretty corrosive on anything, so it would probably help to rinse it off.
And pregnant dogs and puppies and kittens. Safe?
Yes, it's safe for any kind of pet. I mean, even I get a lot of questions about pregnant dogs or puppies, and it is definitely as safe for like you said, there's no chemicals, so it's safe all around.
And for sick dogs or even dogs that get seizures.
Yes, definitely for dogs that with seizures. I saw a lot of my amber collars for dogs specifically that get seizures because, once again, it's non-chemical and people want a more natural approach because they can't put pesticides on their dogs.
Right, or they're risking it by putting a spot on or something on their dogs.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's chat quickly here before the break. And the size of a dog and a price. So Ollie is a Cavalier King Charles Spaniel, 20 pounds. So I think his collar was somewhere around $40, and that was measured by his neck size. So, and that goes up because they measure ears. Okay, so anyone who's thinking of getting a collar for their dog or cat, measure their neck, their size of their neck, right? Go to amberstonepets.com, fill out the order, pick what collar you want, right? Because the big dogs get bigger pieces of amber, right?
Exactly.
Right, and also the length of the collar includes the clasp, so don't worry about that. Just pick the clasp that you want. With Ollie, I like the clasp. It's not really a clasp. It just fits over his head. What do you call that?
Yeah, that's called a Trevor Tuff, and it's basically a piece of elastic, and it has to be put on over the head, but it's just like metal all around for some people.
All right,
like that.
Great. Okay, thanks for joining us today, and we'll talk again.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Free your mind. Expand your soul. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Humanity Healing International is a small nonprofit with a big dream. Since 2007, HHI has been working tirelessly to bring help to communities with little or no hope. Our projects are not broad mandates, nor are they overnight solutions, but they bring the reassurance that no one is alone and that someone cares. To learn more, please visit humanityhealing.org. Humanity Healing is where your heart is.
Hi, I'm Kelly Fox, host and astrologer of The Astrology Show. Each week, I'll give you access to the current transits, which are a valuable tool that provide astrological information to help unlock the potential each of us has. Understanding the stars can help steer us in the right direction to make better informed choices. So if you're wondering what's going to happen in your week ahead, be sure to tune in to The Astrology Show for guidance, Mondays at 9 p.m. Eastern Time.
This segment of The Practical Intuitive is brought to you by Rosie Gremmert at ICanDoHardThings.com. When was the last time nothing was holding you back, physically or emotionally, from the good you want to do for yourself and for the world? If you want to feel great and make it last, Rosie Gremmert will use her decades of experience and expertise as a certified essential oil therapist, certified holistic health coach, and certified grief support specialist. To create the best version of you, just email Rosie at ICanDoHardThings.com and put OMTimes in the subject line. You'll get access to Rosie's exclusive I Can Do Hard Things 30-day Courage Dare and get 25% off all purchases. That's Rosie at ICanDoHardThings.com.
You're not wired to have a response to this sound. You're neutral to it, and you can hear it repeatedly without feeling anything. But when we introduce a new stimulus, save the food, we've achieved pulling a natural or inborn response from you. Save the food, because 40% of all food in the US never gets eaten. Save the food. Cook it, store it, share it. Just don't waste it. For tips and recipes, visit savethefood.com. Brought to you by NRDC and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to the Practical Intuitive Mind, Body, Spirit for the Real World. It's Robin Fritz, and we're live in Seattle, Washington. So we just wrapped up a quick segment with Terry Kent of AmberstonePets.com, and one of the things I wanted to add to that is we're in July. It's high season for fleas and ticks, okay? And every necklace that Terry makes for your dog or your cat is custom made. It's sent out within 3 to 4 days, working days, that is, of getting the order, and it might take a little bit longer to ship. So if you want that collar working on your dog or cat, it takes a few weeks of wearing it too. So get your order in right away, AmberstonePets.com. Wear it for a few weeks, so whatever you might be using, you might want to continue to use. And that could be, a lot of people use the vitamin B with nutritional yeast products for fleas and ticks or garlic stuff. I haven't actually liked that. It makes my dogs itch. But get your order in promptly. Terry Kent at AmberstonePets.com. When you fill out your order, put OMTimes in the coupon section when you check out, and you'll get free shipping. And so thank you, Terry, again for joining us today. So back briefly to this topic of our animals in our spiritual development, and our animals are healers and teachers. And, well, we're all healing and teaching ourselves, each other. That's, kind of how we interact in the world, whether we realize it or not. You walk down the street and you see somebody acting up and you go, wow, I'm not going to be like that person. I mean, that's learning from someone. But if you would just try not thinking of your animals as a healer or teacher or some little mystical guru, but simply honoring and cherishing them as family members, and that they came there to grow their souls with whatever job they came there to do besides be family members, you're really taking a huge step on your soul growth as well as supporting theirs, which is what we do when we're in families, right? We support each other's growth. We, by asking them to be our teachers and healers, we may be asking them to sacrifice their welfare, their fun, and whatever other job they came here to do, that maybe they're there safely in your family to be there safe while they do something else. And we learn and grow from living and being and working with them. It's a bonus to us and part of our mutual learning curve. But they don't come here to save us, and we don't live in families to save them. We're living in families to be families and to share the good times and the bad times, because we're all in charge of saving ourselves. So let me tell you a quick story about how that played out in my family. Back in 1998, I adopted a Cavalier King Charles Spaniel who chose Murphy Brown as her name. And back then I didn't know anything about animal communication or even that they could understand us. So obviously my learning curve since 1998 has been huge, learning to recognize animals as souls with their own jobs. But here is Murphy having a lot of serious health issues as an 11-week-old puppy. And the first couple of years of her life were just a nightmare in terms of expense, of one illness after another. And as I'll talk about on other shows, how we're growing our lives and looking at our lives in context of others, and realizing that she had health problems that mirrored mine. And I was freaked out, like, why does this dog have the same problems that I have? Well, part of it is that we did come together in this lifetime to work on our own issues together. I didn't know that when she first showed up in my life. It took 3 years to realize that she was the reincarnation of my dog Maggie, who was an English Cocker Spaniel and died many years before that. But here's the other thing. Murphy had a cosmic job, a job that was involved with working with the planet. All of my animals have cosmic jobs. I don't know why. that is because they came to be with me. It isn't because they came to be with me, but they came here. They're safe here having those jobs because I'll protect them. And one day I discovered that dragons were back in the world, and I was like, dragons? Like, what? Dragons? Well, it turned out Murphy knew all about the dragons, and she was part of the reason why they came back into the world. Now, at this point, Murphy was 7 years old. She'd gotten well, become well finally at age 5. And when she was 2, I had a number of people tell me, put her down, get a real dog, get rid of this sick dog. And I was like horrified. No, she's my family. I want to figure out what's wrong with her and get her well, which I did. And I got well too, because it was like, this is something we have to work on together. But if I had done what other people had said, Murphy would not have been able to do her cosmic job. So that's food for thought for you. Where do you go? How far do you go in your family life with an animal, just as with other humans? Where does it take you? What is your commitment on a soul level? What is your commitment on a practical daily level? How much can you afford to spend on food, on healthcare, on whatever it is? And all of those are answers that only you can have. And only you can create, but you can tap into that, realize that this is a little soul in a body that chose to be a cat or a dog or a goldfish or a horse or a ferret or a turtle or whatever it is, and invite their spiritual team to talk with you and your spiritual team and see what it is that you can add to your relationship and enjoy it, because it's fun. It's great. It's wonderful to have a family with animals. And to those friends who I know have recently lost theirs, as I certainly did in the last year, I know what it feels like to lose someone that close to you. So know that we are all here with you. So I would like to wrap up today by telling you about ways that you can connect with me and work with me. You can find my intuitive and spiritual consulting work, animal communication, mediumship, space clearing, past life and between life regression, soul journeys, spiritual awakening, energy healing, the whole thing at robinfritz.com, ROBYNFRITZ.com. Email me, robin@robinfritz.com, for questions, for sessions, for things that you'd like discussed on the show. This week, I have 3 webinars at the Learn It Live platform at the OMTimes Experts platform. That's experts at omtimes.com/robinfritz. Wednesday, July 26, Meet the Practical Intuitive introduces my work and what it means to you. It's free, and there are bonuses for those attending live, including discounts on personal sessions. That's Wednesday, July 26 at noon Pacific time. Go to experts.omtimes.com/robinfritz. Sign up for a free account at the Learn It Live platform, and then sign up for the class. Thursday, July 27th, also free at noon Pacific time, Soul Progression Clearing, what the process of healing and soul growth includes. I talked about last week on the show, intuitive insight, shamanic modalities, spirit guides and divinities, and energy healing. So I'll discuss how it works, why you might want a session. We'll do a brief exercise to decide how you feel. And again, bonuses for those attending live, including discounts on personal sessions. Friday, July 28th, Meet and Work with Your Spirit Guides is a paid webinar at the same platform at noon. The fee is $25. I had discount coupons up there, but honestly, they confused me. And so the fee is $25, but I am giving away 2 free tickets. Contact me at robin@robinfritz.com for the discount code for that. I'm giving away 2 free tickets. Otherwise, it's $25 an hour and a half. How and why you can establish a partnership with your spirit guide, why you need to keep on top of them and monitor them, and a guided meditation. This workshop is so much fun. I love teaching it. I bring in my spirit guides, friends' spirit guides, and they'll tell you what a goof it is to work with me sometimes as a spirit guide. So don't be embarrassed if you're having trouble connecting with yours, because you will in this one. Plus, your spirit guide will give you a gift to help you connect with them more easily on your own. So that's the first two people who email me or contact me at my Facebook page, The Practical Intuitive, will get into the webinar for free. Join me tomorrow morning, July 25th at Facebook Live at OMTimes.com. So, quick energy healing with the goddess. Hands on the heart. Breathe into your palms. Palms outward, sending energy healing out to the world. Palms on your heart. Breathe into your palms. And hands back on your heart, bringing that energy back into your body. Join me next week, July 31st, Medical Intuition, Wellness, and Intuitive Development. Thank you for joining us today.